Hey everybody, welcome back to the VMP Performance YouTube channel. I'm Justin.
And I'm Rebecca. And we are on a dyno.
We are on our dyno. We were doing some tuning last night, looking for some more horsepower. We thought we had enough.
Yeah, we've been out of the track. The car had done really, really well in the limited amount of testing that I had gotten. And I thought we were pretty close to where we needed to be, but we needed a little bit more power.
And we wanted to dial some more things in on the dyno. We actually adjusted our VCT. Well, the car no longer has VCT, so we manually adjusted the cams in the car, which is a little bit of a tedious process on a car that's locked out, but we were able to do it. Went back on the dyno looking for some more power and found the limit of the head bolts and the head gaskets. So we still want to make the Mod Motor Nationals race. We're going to tear it down and see if we can replace the head gaskets, still get up to Georgia in time. So this is actually the hose from a leak down tester kit, and it conveniently lets us put 130 psi shop air into the cylinder. As long as both valves are closed, it'll build a lot of pressure in the cylinder, and it should tell us which cylinder it is by having bubbles in the reservoir. So this is interesting. I don't have air coming out of the cooling system. I have it coming out of the other cylinder. On a Coyote, it is quite possible to blow the head gasket between two cylinders. See, right now I can hear the air coming out of the exhaust, so the cams are just in a position where the exhaust valve's open. I'm going to go back to the cylinder that I felt air coming out of and pressurize it and see if I feel air coming out of the cylinder next to it. Okay, so I finished pressurizing all the cylinders with shop air, and this is what I've learned. I haven't learned nearly as much as I'd like to. I did not find any super obvious bubbles. The heads do not have a grossly blown head gasket. It only seems to be something that's leaking at high RPM under a lot of boost and a lot of pressure. We're gonna have to get it in the shop and tear it down to find out exactly what's going on. So it's much easier to just drop the engine. This car doesn't have air conditioning and it doesn't have very many connections. Left all the wiring and everything up in the car, dropped the K-member. We started on this probably about 9:30, and it is, I think, around lunchtime now. The last thing to do before we can pull off the heads is pulling out the cams, and we're gonna find out where the head gasket's blew. I can tell right now it's nothing major. Like, we didn't torch the side of the cylinder or anything crazy like that. It just made a little bit too much pressure. We were going for that horsepower number, and now we're paying for it in a set of head gaskets. Trying to learn as much as we can from this, so we are checking the torque of all the head studs before we pull it apart. It's there's a lot of talk in the Coyote world that you should let the engine set and retorque the head studs a couple hours later after assembly. You should put it through a heat cycle and retorque it. On an overhead cam motor, it's very, very difficult to retorque them in the car with the camshafts installed. So that's really not an option. These are 11mm ARP head studs, so the spec is 100 foot-pounds on the final torque. Mike, what did you find?
About 100 to 104 on each one.
They are all frickin' on the money. All right, we're gonna get them apart, see what we find.
Look at that bubble like that. Look at that warp. in that gasket.
Wow. So far, it actually warped the gasket. There's gasket got really hot and never shrunk back down to its original size.
Look at the shape of that gasket.
This gasket is no longer flat, and it looks like the front driver's side cylinder got the brunt of it. Right here, whenever you see this black powdery carbon soot-like and stuff, that's where you push the gasket out. At this power level, we apparently need to have some degree of O-rings, and we're just starting to max out what this gasket can do, what these 11mm studs can do. Looking at the plugs, that side was the worst. I'm hoping that we're not really going to find anything worse than that over here, because we can deal with that. If there's anything worse than that, we might not be able to deal with it and still make it to the race.
This side is not bubble. We know what side it was. Yeah. And look at the gasket. See how the gasket's flat? Yeah, it's fine.
The cylinder head surface on this side looks beautiful. Look at this. This is still like fresh from the machine shop. This is good. Let's go check out the block. All right, so this side looks way better. We definitely have been working the head gasket and the cylinder head with all the power we're making. We've got a little bit of transfer of the black from the gasket to the sleeve, but you know, nothing that indicates that we blew the head gasket on this side. So we're gonna see if we can get this thing cleaned up and back together. So we got something a little special in the box here. I got a hold of some of the new 4-layer MLS gaskets from the new GT500. This is Ford's latest and greatest MLS head gasket design. They are also a little bit thicker, about 10 thou, so they will lower our compression ratio a couple of tenths. Given all the new power that the new Gen 3R is making and how much boost we're seeing and everything, this is not a bad thing. So these fit up right here like this. The cams are going back in. We left the secondary chains installed so we don't have to line these up again. Something too, we are using the ARP cam tower bolts. We are not using the factory torque to yield bolts anymore. I really don't want those on any part of the valve train. This motor is going to be spinning 8,500 RPM. The cams are higher lift, much higher lift than stock. The springs are much heavier than stock, so there's a lot of force on various parts of the valve train. And that's one of the reasons that we have the VCT locked out, is so we can ensure proper cam timing without having to worry about things move around. So we're going to get it timed. It's closer and closer to going back together. After a lot of hard work by everybody here at the VMP shop, we got it back together, and Rebecca's going to fire it up for the first time.
I can't believe we did it.
Yeah, there's a car in the trailer. It runs.
We started out pretty hopeless last night, blown head gaskets. We're not going to make it to Mod Motor Nationals. You're not going to run a 7 at the best race of the year, the best weather of the year. And now we've done it. We have a running car. Thanks to the hard work from Rebecca and me and the team at VMP, we got it together and it's here.
Yeah, so definitely stay tuned and check out the next video. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Hopefully we'll get that 7. See you next time.